Welcome to Optics, where we watch socially impactful documentary shorts and speak with the filmmakers, artists, and activists who made them. I'm your host, Barry Thornburg. The film we're watching today is Hiplet, because we can. We are joined today by our special guest, director Addison Wright. Mr. Wright is a graduate from Delaware State University in TV production and film, and is from Chicago's South Side, where he's been producing films, commercial work, and music videos for the last 7 years. Addison, welcome.
Thank you for having me. How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great now that you're here.
It makes me feel good.
Well, let's go ahead and start the ball rolling. Go ahead and tell me about the film, Hiplet. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so Hiplet Because We Can was a film that, I wanted to put together to tell the story about the Hiplet ballerinas. I came across them a couple years ago on Instagram, and they blew me away. And it wasn't until I did more research, I found out that they were right here in my backyard, in Chicago. Saw them on Good Morning America, and they had Mercedes-Benz commercials, Old Navy commercials. And, they were just these like beautiful Black girls. And I was like, hey, I want to make a story about them and make a film about them, and, have it as some inspiration. So, people, boys and girls that look like them, can have some inspiration to say, you know what, I'm gonna go out and, chase my dreams, and, just something positive. Like Chicago gets so much negative, media and everything. So I just wanted to create an ode to Chicago and also inspire some youth here. So
for sure. Speaking to that, Chicago becomes kind of a political pawn that's used to make whatever point you want, right? And gather whatever votes you feel like, because you made a statement about Chicago, and all of a sudden, you have political points. And I definitely see the room, the room for positivity that doesn't have to take on the stereotype that's created, right?
For sure.
Excellent. So, as an artist, going through some of the work that you've done and a little bit of what we've talked about off screen, you've produced quite a number of music videos, and that happens to have a pretty heavy influence on this film. Can you just talk to me about what draws you to producing music videos?
Yeah, so as a kid, I grew up watching a lot of MTV when they played music videos. Also watched The Box, which was a channel that only played music videos. So that's when I knew, I didn't know at the time when I was watching these music videos that they would be such a pivotal thing in my life that I would eventually gravitate to create, them. But, they played a big part of my life. And when I went to college, I realized hey, I want to tap into film and, create music videos. I always had these ideas pop in my head for different concepts. And everybody thought they were an artist in college for some reason. Everybody was singing and rapping. So I was like, yo, I can do a music video for you. Awesome. So that was sort of my start. And then after college, a lot of my friends back here in Chicago were, jumping into creating a music career. So it, kind of worked out. I was able to jump on the music scene because I knew people that were in it. And that's how I got started with doing music videos. But I had no idea that all the videos that I've done in the past would lead me to creating this film. And that would play such a huge part in this film, just because the film takes on so many different, I wouldn't say so many, but a few different styles. But the main portion of the film is a music video.
Yeah.
So it has a short film, element, it has a music video element, but under the underlying like element is a documentary. So
yeah. So I mean, what go into that a little bit more. Like, what are the tools that you use for making music videos that you brought into this format? Like, what goes into making music videos that's unique to music videos, and then like how does that actually work with this, right?
Yeah. So I would say like in the later part of me, I guess of my filmmaking career doing music videos, I realized that I have this kind of style of like capturing beauty. Like I like having like some type of beauty in a lot of music videos that I do, and that doesn't necessarily mean just beauty with like women, but even like with, I think it has something to do with like making direct eye contact like through the lens, you know. So it's like the subject is looking at the viewer, and I wanted to make sure this film had that same element where like a lot of the girls as they were performing were making eye contact. You know, there was like these steady cam movements and everything was fluid, and like the edits were on beat music, and you can kind of feel it. So what I wanted to add to this film was just something that people can kind of like feel.
Yeah.
You know, the music was like very upbeat, so you know people could walk away like, wow, that was, you know, it was nice.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about this before today, but what you talk about now makes me wonder. So, unlike music videos, usually the artist already has the song in mind, I would imagine, right? That you don't have much say over what music you're making the music video for. But in this project, is that similar, or did they have the music already pre-selected and you had to go along with that? Like, where was the decision making here?
I actually I actually brought the song to them. And it's interesting because now when they go on the road, they haven't been on the road for a while since we're in the pandemic, but when they go on the road, they use that song as part of their performance now, which is cool, you know.
Yeah.
The artist, his name is Rick Wilson, and the song is called Soul Bounce. The song came out, I want to say like 4 years ago.
Okay.
And Rick Wilson and I were in the process of creating the music video for the song. And timing didn't work out, so I didn't shoot the music video. But the words to the song, and it is so funny because when I was coming up with the concept for the film, I was trying to like think of a song that the girls could perform to, and I was having such a hard time. Like I wanted to make sure that the beat, the BPM was perfect for them to kind of like move to, and I could edit to. And then it just popped in my head like Soul Bounce, and then I played it, and the words lined up perfectly for the message that we were trying to convey with the film.
Yeah.
And that's how that happened.
That's exciting. That's cool. It's wonderful when like things finally click and congeal together in a film project, because then the momentum really gets going, right? Yeah. So Hiplet's particular focus, which you've already alluded to a little bit, is in well, I mean, the group itself, even outside of the film, their particular focus is in representation with the intent to inspire, right? And they're not just dancing; they're trying to represent themselves in a particular way for people to be inspired by it, right? And, which is a notable mission. But can you speak to that motive and how you decided to incorporate that into the film?
Yeah, so I want to say that it was definitely a collaboration as far as having the representation, because Homer Hans Bryant, the founder of Hiplet, and the Chicago Multicultural Dance Center, which Hiplet is under, you know, in my head, I can speak for my end, the way I wanted to have them represented on camera was like making sure like skin tones were like just popping, and like the the way that they moved and having like that grace. And like I really wanted young Black girls to look at them and say like, wow, like they're like, that's me.
Yeah.
But as far as Homer, having them having that representation for Homer, he made sure that their wardrobe was like spot on. Like he wanted them to have on blue jeans so that they could have that, street appeal, but at the same time they have on point shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you don't typically see. Like you don't see ballerinas wearing, blue jeans or just denim and point shoes, and wearing like sequins, like costumes and point. Like
Right.
you don't typically see that.
Much less performing that way, right?
Yeah, so I know for Homer, like that's one of his things, and I've seen that from some of their performances. Mm-hmm. Just the outfits, or costumes, I should say, are like just like amazing. they really, they really are. So I know for him, he wanted to make sure that they were represented the correct way. Mm-hmm. Just because he's told me stories about different publications that have come to the studio to film them, and they would twist the narrative around like, oh, well, these Black girls come from the South Side and they're, low income, change it around to kind of like, and I wanted to make sure like that would not be a thing. Like, let's show how amazing these girls are. Let's stick with that. And, let's use this to inspire and not make this like, not a sob story, but like one of those stories that like people, I don't know, but yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Kind of like is like the rags to riches sort of story, kind of what you're talking about. Yeah. Now, speaking to that, there's a really wonderful clip that you included on your Instagram feed that didn't make it into the film. But it's with your interview with the girls, and they spend some time explaining kind of their reasoning for the concept, how it came about, and their motives for it, right? And they explain a little bit more. I'm going to switch to that so that our audience can see that a little bit, and then let's respond to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So do you think you're getting all this flack because you're African American girls doing hip hop on point?
Yes, I think that's part of it. But you know what? Because there's just this huge stereotype is, oh, well, all Black people love hip hop, so I guess they just decided to do hip hop and put it on point. It's not, that's not what the concept was. It started as us just having fun on a Friday, messing around, seeing what we could do on our toes. Like, we're not just doing hip hop on point because it's the only dance that we're really good at, Like, we do hip play because not everyone is gonna go to, I don't know, like a ballet show and sit there and really understand, Like, we do this to, like, entertain so that everyone can, like, enjoy what we do, Yeah, we try to make our audience feel as hype as we are.
I also think it was a combination, I'll speak for when we first went viral, I think it was a combination of a new style and Black girls. Because before we went viral, there was already an abrasiveness to Black girls doing classical ballet, period. So then you have a new style where we're just basically taking classical technique and turning it completely upside down, and we're Black, and we have so many different body types. We're not all skinny toothpicks that only eat an ice cube for lunch. So, you had a lot of, like, just different all at once. So I feel like for a lot of people, it was kind of like a smack in the face.
Yeah, because
good smack, though.
So, Addison, tell me about that clip. Why is it that even after having put out the film, why did that stand out to you? Why did you want to make sure that, in addition to the film, people saw this clip as well?
So, with my with the edit, the final edit, I think what I wanted, I didn't want them to come off too abrasive. And I really wanted their message to stay within the inspiration of telling, like, boys and girls, like, you can do it. If it's any, obstacles that you come across, if it's anything that's challenging, stick your mind to it, So I don't want to necessarily say I don't want them to come off too abrasive, because I mean that's the whole point of the film, was that they're explaining the diversity that they face.
Sure.
But there were certain parts in the dialogue that I wanted to like save to do a director's cut, just on the back end of the film. And with all of the, you know, the protest and the killing of George Floyd and everything, you know, I was like, you know, it's crazy that they have a message in this film, you know, that people haven't seen yet, you know. So I'm like, let me just like release this, you know, for several different audiences. And it all comes back to like that same thing, that same topic. So yeah, I just found it interesting that, you know, they mentioned that they aren't just doing hip hop on point because they listen to hip hop, and, you know, they just like Jada, the one I was speaking at first, she's the lead person of the film. She did the choreography, amazing. You know, she was saying that they just wanted to make people feel good. You know, they wanted people to come and see women do ballet, but at the same time kind of sit in their seats and move around, and, you know, versus just sitting there like, you know, like they wanted it to be something. They wanted it to be something fun, you know, and as they were doing that, you know, realized that people were putting these stereotypes on them, and they were also trying to get out of the stereotypes as far as them having different body types, you know, you know, so I mean, I just felt like it was important for people to hear that versus me holding on to it for this director's cut. Like, I just felt like it was the, you know, perfect time for people to hear that message, you know, just for, not just for the ballet world, but just, you know, applying that to several different things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, in terms of like these other news crews or people who want to document this team, the dance group, like, I think it's fair to note that, like, yeah, these stereotypes live and breathe outside of this film, right? And unfortunately, there's a certain amount that has to be combated, right? Because we want to fill the narrative with these things that are more popularly believed, right? And so to a certain extent, we have to put out counter messaging that says, hey, settle down. Like, that's not quite how it's going here. Let's hear how it really is, right? Let's find out what the real story behind it is, rather than just adding our own narratives or cultural narratives on top of it. Well, good. Let's go ahead and switch over to the film. We'll have a Q&A afterwards, and so for the audience, if you want to ask questions during the film, you can, and we can prepare for the Q&A. Otherwise, if our audience has cold feet, then I have plenty more questions to ask you as well.
Sounds good.
Excellent. All right, let's get this queued up. Excellent. Thank you so much for letting us watch that.
Absolutely.
Something that I completely neglected to do, and I apologize, is to highlight the fact that this was an official selection for South by Southwest this year. So
it was.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. Great recognition that's well deserved for the film.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. So, I mean, we'll start it off real quick. What was it like trying to get the film into South by Southwest and successfully doing so?
It was interesting. This was my first film, first of all. Like, I've done like little projects that were like web series and things like that, but this was my very first, like, hey, I'm pulling in all my favors, let's try to raise money, let's try to like I need a sound person that does sound design. I need an editor, so I didn't realize how much money needed to be spent to enter all of these film festivals. And, but I knew, like, I've been to South by Southwest, not the film portion, the music portion, because I was there filming friends I did music videos for. And I've always wanted to be a part of South by Southwest. And they opened up the early entry to submit. And I was like, let me go ahead and spend this $50.
It's a no-brainer.
Like,
yeah.
So, because I got denied maybe 10, 12 times before I submitted to South by Southwest. So I was like, all right, this is my last one. I'm tired of getting denied. Let me just submit. And I was in Detroit. It was Christmas Eve, and I was driving, and I got a push notification on my email, what did it say? It said selected South by Southwest, and I almost crashed because I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What is this?
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of next steps, and I was like, whoa. So from December till about February, I was just riding high on this cloud, and of course we all got the news about the pandemic, and it was just day after day, it was just all right, are they going to keep it going?
Right.
Are they going to, and then the bombshell drop was just that just snatched it away.
Right.
So,
well, to your credit, I mean, not that you should be trading a live showing of your film at South by Southwest for being featured here, but I probably would not have known about your film had it not been featured in an online format, right? And
that's true. That's true.
I have no way to measure whether or not you got more exposure in the way that you did or not, but I certainly am appreciative that I got to see it. Not to say that I'm happy about the pandemic. No one, don't say that I am happy about that. We would be much better off without it, but
absolutely,
it's I'm happy I got to see it. So often I find that things that seemed like roadblocks during the making of a film pushed me to be more creative, or to it results in a more positive result in the film. Not always. Failures sometimes are nothing more than failures, and we just got to move on from them. But I mean, what are some of the roadblocks you found while making this film that actually turned out for the better?
Yeah. So one of the major roadblocks, initially, the ballroom that I wanted to film in was the South Shore Cultural Center or South Shore Cultural Club. Which is here in Chicago. It's on the South Side. It was a white-owned institution, white-only institution, back in the early 1900s. And eventually, the Chicago Park District bought it, I think, in the late 50s. And it was, everybody was welcome once they bought it and turned it over. But yeah, I mean, it was, white-only establishment, and it's beautiful on the inside, and they have this huge ballroom. It's amazing. It's right off the lake, and so much daylight comes in, which would have minimized the amount of light we needed to bring in.
Right.
But I didn't know how much it cost, and I was like, yeah, I don't have the money, to pay for this. So we ended up using the Grand Ballroom, which is the ballroom we filmed in. And I had that connection from a music video I did for a friend some years ago. And they let us film in there randomly. Excellent. So it popped into my head, where's another ballroom? And I was like, the Grand Ballroom. So I reached out, and it was a blessing because they let us have it for the whole day.
Wow.
There was no hey, you guys need to get out. They were like, look, you need to move desks, chairs, whatever. I'll have, some staff here. They really, really hooked it up for us. And it just ended up being a blessing.
Yeah.
So that roadblock.
a real
ended up being the
testament
blessing.
to taking care of locations when we're using them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Filmmakers out there, take care of your locations because you never know when you're going to need them again.
Yep.
Don't burn those bridges.
Nope.
All right. So career-wise, you've said that in addition to your commercial work and music videos, you're pursuing more film projects and
Yes.
trying to move in that direction. Why? What's persuading you to move away from, or if not away from, but to spend more of your time on film projects?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very big on performance music videos, right? Like that was all I saw as a kid growing up, watching a lot of Hype Williams videos, just like seeing these very like stylized like scenes. But there was always this like desire to like do narrative work. It's like I really want to tell a story. But then I as I was doing that in some of my music videos, I'm like, okay, well, I get with these artists and they're like, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, well, I have a different idea, you know, that's really good. And they're like, no, this is, you know, when I made the song, this is what I thought of. And I was like, man, like, I want to create something where it's mine. Like I have these ideas, like, let me create something that I can put my, you know, artistic or my creative expression on it, you know, because I just have all of these stories that I want to like put out, and I want to be able to, you know, continue to inspire somebody from these stories and not stay within this box of the song, you know, for this 4-minute song, you know, I can't tell like the story from, you know?
Yeah.
So.
That's cool. So that kind of leads into my next question. Like, what are you working on now? What are you currently pursuing?
So right now I am writing my next short film, which is called A Street in Bronzeville. So it's a love story based here in Chicago in a neighborhood called Bronzeville that was, or that is, it's a very historic neighborhood. It's like the birthplace of of like jazz and blues kind of. A lot of huge names, you know, would always come here to perform and to stay. Back in like the early like 40s and 50s. It was just like a very prominent Black neighborhood after the Great Migration. So, and it still is. Like, I mean, it's still a neighborhood that has a lot of history and a lot of music within it. So, you know, I just wanted to like shed light on this neighborhood and tell this love story at the same time. So.
Excellent.
So that's currently what I'm writing on, you know, just developing the characters and coming up with the script and talking to a friend of mine that's a producer. So we're like working on it together. But yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing this entire quarantine. It's just writing.
Right.
So
I think there's a lot of incubation going on with creatives right now. We have time, and now we can finally like devote it to our passion projects, to the things that we really feel like need to be said. Yeah. And I'm excited actually to see, again, I'm not condoning a pandemic, but like I am excited to see what kind of artistic resurgence comes from all of this time that we've had.
I definitely think within the next year or two is going to be a lot of different things that we see that people have been like sitting on.
Yeah.
Actually come to life. So. Yeah, should be interesting.
I mean, I really think that the next decade or so is going to be defined by this year with what time we've had. I mean, we see how like reality TV came out of a writer's strike and like so many dramatic changes in visual entertainment have been just through momentary changes in the industry. Like we're going to see a difference in movie theaters. We're going to see it. I mean, it's going to be wild to see like where we go from here, but I'm especially excited for the creativity that's going to be coming our way. It'll be good. All right. Well, if people want to follow you or contact you or just keep up to date on your work, how can they do so?
Yeah, they can check me out on Instagram. It is my first and last name, Addison Wright. My website is addisonjwright.com. If you want to follow news about Hiplet, the Hiplet Instagram page for the film is Hiplet_film. And to follow news on the Hiplet ballerina so you can see how amazing these girls are, they're
Totally.
At Hiplet ballerinas on Instagram as well. So
excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, Addison, thank you again for having us, not for having us, for coming on our show.
Absolutely.
It's a privilege for us to be able to highlight a film with such creativity, but also having the impact that it has and so on. Thank you for being accessible to us. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you for letting me jump on the platform and, share the film and talk about it. So
excellent. Well, hopefully this won't be the last time we see you.
Nope.
All right, let me get to our outro and then we'll close it up. Okay. Let's see. Next week, please join us for another short doc, A Night at the Garden, which was nominated for a 2019 Academy Award for Best Documentary Short. And we'll speak with the director, Marshall Curry. I hope to see you all there. The schedule for our show is published on my website at thornburgmedia.com/optics. But you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to more easily tune in to each episode and get notifications for when we go live. If you are a filmmaker and would like to have your short film considered, you can contact me through the same online location. Let's see. You can also check out and support special film and video projects in the Spotlight section found on our website as well. Optics is an independent production that supports and showcases creative producers that use their artistry and influence in documentary media to instigate shifts towards social equality. Thank you again for everyone. Join us again next week, and we'll talk to you later.